My life being poor in a blue state was better than my well-off life
Now,
in
if
a
you
red
live in
state.
America and you live in a blue state, say goodbye to your federal funding.
We've been grateful for living in the United States for 2 years, but when we became absolute fan of United States is the moment when we left.
America, are you guys okay? Because everything we're seeing.
So I was just looking up some stuff about savings on retirement, stuff like that, and it's not looking good. I don't understand how anyone my age and younger is ever supposed to retire when the price of living is so high. At the age of 50, having $537,000 is barely going to be enough to make ends meet. In fact, for most people, it still won't make ends meet for the rest of your retirement, because the average amount, give or take, they want you to spend with having a high end, which most people never reach that amount of retirement savings, by the way, by the time they're 50, which is also insane. You would have to spend on rent alone, you would have to keep it under anywhere between $530, which is non-existent these days, to around that 1,700 mark a month, which is almost non-existent these days as well. And one quote I got was that you want to not go too close to $30,000 annually in spending altogether if you want that retirement package of $537,000 to last you to the end of retirement at the age of 50. And again, most people in the United States do not save up to $500,000 by the time they're 50. I don't understand how we're supposed to survive. And I think that's the point. They want a lot of us to either work ourselves to death or to just die off before that point. I don't understand what the higher powers that be expect the younger generations to do, and not understand why most of us are really getting fed up with the systems in place in general, regardless of if it's the hardcore oppression we're already seeing being implemented even more so now. Just sick of it because we can't afford to live. I don't understand how any of us are supposed to be able to retire, and safety nets like Social Security are being cut more and more, and less people are being allowed on it, even though they should be technically allowed on it. So I don't know. I guess we're all just supposed to die before we turn 60.
The median salary in the United States is $60,000 a year, and Yahoo made this super helpful budget to show you exactly what to do with it. But I'm going to show you what's wrong with it. So the first thing I want to break down is housing. So they say you should allocate $1,254 to housing. Now, the problem here is that the median rent in the United States for a single person is $1,600. Now, of course, you can get roommates to bring that cost down, but the reality is that the median compensation in the United States will not afford you a studio apartment. Next, they suggest $380 a month for transportation. But the median car payment right now in the United States is about $500 for a used vehicle and over $700 for a new one. And this is just the car payment. This doesn't even include insurance or gas. So maybe you're thinking, hey, tell them to take public transportation. But the reality is that we don't have a lot of cities with great public transportation, and those that do are among the most expensive, which means that your rent prices are going to be significantly higher. Next, they suggested allocating $190 to healthcare, because as a reminder, the $3,800 that they budgeted per month only accounted for taxes, no other deductions like retirement or healthcare. So anyway, they're suggesting that you spend $190. However, in recent years, people are spending an average of close to $1,000 a month on healthcare. Now, that's a mix of insurance, co-pays, out-of-pocket costs, prescriptions, everything. So if we use just a few of these adjusted numbers, we start off with the $3,800 a month. We take out $1,600, which is the median rent, and then we're going to be pretty conservative and just say $600 for transportation and $500 for healthcare. That leaves you $1,100 for everything else. And the reality is that the majority of that is going to go to utilities and food, which essentially leaves the person earning the median salary in the United States absolutely no money for anything sort of fun, no money for emergencies, no money for savings, no money for investing, no money for retirement. If you had an economy that was favorable for the middle class, then a median income should earn you a median lifestyle, and it doesn't. That's why you have so many people who are thinking, hey, I'm earning above average income. Why am I struggling so much? Because the reality is that to be successful in the United States, you need to have above average earnings just to afford the bare minimum.
I cannot afford Florida anymore. I just looked at my budget and my electric bill for December, which in Florida, mind you, we don't use the AC very much when it comes to December, okay? My electric bill for this December was more expensive than my electric bill from August of 2020, one of the hottest months of the year. Make that make sense. I used way less electricity in December than I do in August of any given year, and somehow my bill is now higher. My electric bills have more than doubled in the course of 5 years. And also, my water bill has more than doubled. And not to mention the rates of my insurance, property taxes, yada, yada, yada. It's all just gone up and up and up. I thought homeownership was supposed to be the cure-all solution. You buy a property, you pay it off one day, and then you are just fancy living, here we come. But apparently, that's not the case, as I know many homeowners who bought in Florida who are being priced out, and they have like the neighborhood fees or the association fees. Those have gone up rampantly without any sort of guardrails, and people who bought houses are just being priced out because of that alone. Luckily, I don't have those, but even I'm still feeling the squeeze with everything going up in the budget, so I'm selling. I can't afford it. And to those saying renting's not much better, I don't know, like at least you have the mobility to leave, I guess, you know what I mean? The most frustrating thing to me is that we were all just promised this one thing when we all went to college to get the degree and we saved up all the money to make the down payment on the house, and that has not panned out. I'm not like some financial expert. I'm just some guy who just knows that his bills have gone up astronomically, and my baseline number for cost of living per month, even before groceries or like buying clothes, I know from firsthand lived experience that this situation here does not work for me financially. And when the only answer you can get as to why did my bills double in 5 years is just because, that doesn't really give me any comfort that it's gonna get better anytime soon. So I'm tapping out now while I still can, because I'm getting priced out of existence here in Florida. And that's that.
We are officially in January 2026, which means in New York City that all of the transportation costs are going up this month. So the subway's going up. My Metro North is going up. And then because I live in a co-op, my maintenance is going up. My maintenance started out at $1,200 when we moved in 3 years ago. Now I pay monthly $1,400 something dollars. It's like 14 and change, okay? That's a month, folks. I pay $1,400 to maintain my co-op, okay? I got a letter that said our budget for 2026 was $1.5 million. I want to see the receipts. I'm asking for an itemized bill as to what this is paying for. Mind you, the superintendents of my building keep it impeccable, but also that is a lot of money, okay? That doesn't include my mortgage. My mortgage is $2,300. Because we bought this place in 2023 and the interest rate was 7%. Again, mind you, had we bought this place in Brooklyn where we were living, probably would have been $1 million. Here, it cost us $385 in Westchester County, specifically Scarsdale. Now, I don't live in bougie Scarsdale because I don't have a giant house. I live in a co-op. I live in an apartment, okay? And yes, it is a beautiful place to live. It is what I like to call a bubble. I live in a bubble. But living in Brooklyn is twice as expensive. And we got our co-op somewhat renovated. We also just renovated the bathroom last year and spent about 18 grand on that. Actually, it's probably more like 20 grand. So we have this beautiful bathroom now, I will say, but we've been spending a lot of money lately, and we don't make a lot of money. In transparency, again, my husband and I make probably under 200 grand total. We are both blue collar workers, what I would like to call. He's an electrician for the city. I'm a recipe developer at a magazine. So I'm not making gold. You know what I mean? We're not rolling in the dough, so to say. All I'm saying is the cost of living keeps going up and up and up, and I just don't know how we're gonna afford it. Like, I really just don't know how we're gonna afford it because our jobs are not going up. My paycheck is not going up, which is my own problem, I know. Like, and welcome, that's why we're supplementing our income. Well, trying to. So if anyone can help a girl out and tell me how I can make money on this app, let me know because I'm ready to roll in the dough.
How come no one talks about the fact that the real poverty line, the true unspoken poverty line, is over $100,000 for a family of 4 in the United States? See, if you Google it, you know what it'll tell you? It'll tell you $32,000 is the poverty line for a family of 4. But see, this is misleading. Because if you're a family of 4 and your household income is $32,000, you qualify for a ton of different benefits. If that's your income, you get free healthcare, you get food stamps. But if your household makes, $70,000, you don't get to qualify for any of that stuff. All those people in the grocery store that you walk past, they're all getting their stuff for free. Meanwhile, you have to pay for it all because you make a little more money. And if that $70,000 a year household is somehow operating on one income and they need to make more money by having the other adult work, well, they have to at least make $40,000 to $50,000 from that other individual to even break even on childcare. This is exactly why, if you do not make over $100,000 for a 4-person household, you are below the poverty line. The math backs this up. Take the median wage for the...
People are broke, and now there's proof showing up in the numbers. Kellogg's reported an 8.6% drop in cereal sales. Crocs pulled its entire financial forecast. Heineken says people are drinking less. And even global giants like Nestle are seeing sales fall across the board. And what's scary about this, it's not about cutting luxuries. People are walking away from everyday items. Candy, snacks, fast food, takeout. Last Saturday, I went for lunch at a popular restaurant. Usually packed at noon, we expected a wait. Instead, we were just a handful of people there. Because consumers are cutting back hardest on items that bring joy. Chips, chocolate, going out to dinner. Not because they want to, because simply they don't have the fucking money. And companies know it. Forecasts are being pulled. Behind the scenes, they see the truth. Demand just isn't slowing. It's fucking collapsing. After 5 brutal years, Americans are barely hanging on. And now the administration slaps tariffs on top of it. It's like throwing gasoline on an already burning house. These families are one missed paycheck away from financial collapse. Americans aren't tightening belts anymore. They've run out of fucking notches.
This is where I sleep and live, in the living room.
Cindy Ivey lives down to the penny.
I count change every month.
Her Social Security and disability checks are just enough to keep her in this Calhoun apartment, where she's lived the past 2 years. The cheapest option she could find after being priced out of her last rental.
When I first moved in, it was $600 a month. That was in July. July of the next year, they went up to $750. Then July of the next year, they went up to $900, and that's just about my whole check. So I had to find a cheaper place to live.
That's a 50% increase, perfectly legal under Georgia law, but impossible on her fixed income.
What's the ultimate worst case scenario?
Handing out tents. Because we'll be up under the bridge with the rest of them.
State Representative Amani Barnes says that's what she's trying to prevent.
We have senior citizens who are being evicted, and think about, let's humanize that and put your grandma or your grandpa out on the street.
Barnes attempted to tackle the issue last year by drafting the Senior Stabilization Act, which would cap rent increases at 10% over 2 years for Georgia seniors 62 and older, whose primary income is Social Security. It never even made it to a vote.
When I reached out to you, this bill was kind of in the graveyard.
It has been dug up. It's been resurrected. We're pushing it.
Barnes has now refiled the bill for consideration this session.
Do you worry that if this passes, it just means landlords won't house seniors?
We hope that's not the case, but just be mindful on how quickly you increase their rent and how much. That's what we're asking.
Gets lonely.
For Ivy, the fear of another rent hike weighs heavy.
And I have nowhere else to go. So it is scary.
There are annual cost of living increases for Social Security benefits. For 2026, it's 2.8%.
I will get $32 on my check starting next year extra. Power went up, gas went up, my natural gas, the rent went up, my insurance went up, so there goes that $32. I don't even get to see it.
Leaving no space.
With my pillows and everything, I fit perfect.
For more change.
I just pray that they do the right thing.
Savannah Levins, 11 Alive.
Whenever you see a really rich person say that they're not going to give their money to their kid, but they're going to donate that money to charity, The charity is just a nonprofit that their children made. They always trying to seem like they're so noble, so against handouts and so against like nepotism and stuff, but really their kid is just going down, filing 501c3 on whatever business that they have, and then when the parent passes, it's just all going to funnel into there. And you're probably wondering why they do that, and it's because if you give the money outright, it's going to be taxed. But if you donate it to a charity, it is going to be tax-free. It's just one of the ways really rich people propagandize you into not helping out your kids. It's in the same vein of a lot of CEOs will give themselves a low salary, like under $100,000 a year, and they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I just didn't feel good about taking more. It's because they're paying themselves in a lot of stock options. And the reason that you get stock options is because you don't get taxed on stock options until you sell the stock. And if you have that much money in your stock options, you're not going to sell your stock for money. You're going to take out a loan against your stock portfolio. That loan isn't going to be taxed. It's probably going to have a 0% interest rate. And then you're just going to use that money as your spending money. A lot of people think that these billionaires are super smart, super savvy. They had to have gotten this money from somewhere. Really, it's because they hired the right accountant.
Does minimum wage need to go up in 2026? I'm not trying to start a battle in the comments, but this is the map of the 2026 minimum wages that we're going into 2026 with. And yes, they are all over the map, from the higher states like Washington and Maine, New York, and the 16, 15, 17 kind of areas, to the lower states being at $7.25, which is still federal minimum wage. Our highest is Washington, D.C. at $17.95. It took me a minute to find it on the map, but that's the reality of it. Now we've got a bunch of states that are just kind of this brown middle area at $11 an hour and up. So we've got some that are 11, 12, 13, 14, but the higher ones are going to be $15 to $18 an hour. And can you even live off of federal minimum wage at $7.25 an hour? You're going to make about $14,000 a year. That's before taxes. That is under the poverty line, but do jobs really pay that? Are there jobs in Texas that pay $7.25? Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Can you actually find those kind of jobs? If you're from one of those states, let me know if you can find a job that actually pays minimum wage today, because I don't know if it actually exists in 2026. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments.
Hey America, are you guys okay? Because everything we're seeing over here in Australia of what you guys are going through, I don't have words for it. And I genuinely wonder, are a lot of you guys wanting to leave? How does that look right now for you guys, especially with families? If you are planning to go, where are you going? Is it hard to leave right now?
Here's how much it costs as a 31-year-old girlie living in Southern California to live. Let's get into it. So the first thing is rent. I personally pay $1,650 every month for rent. I share rent with a roommate, and I do pay a little bit more because I have the master bedroom. The next thing is utilities. So for water, our water bill is so high. It's always like $90 something. So $50 for water. Now the other two is gas and electricity. So my gas bill, it's very, very complicated, and I'm not even going to get into it, but usually gas is less than $20 a month. And then for electricity, so we have solar panels, and we were getting a bunch of credits. And so I haven't paid the electricity bill probably since, I think, September, I believe. August, September, I have not paid the electricity bill. And even when I was paying it, it was like $2. But our last bill was $70 something, and that ate up a lot of our credit. Again, I didn't have to pay, but usually for electricity, when I do have to pay, it's less than $20, like $21, I think. So love the solar panels a lot, especially in Southern California. We have the AC running 24/7. Next would be my car insurance. So my car insurance is $161, and I drive a Honda HRV, and I have USAA. I made another video about that. And the last thing is my car loan. So my car loan is $474. It is an amazing rate, and I have $9,000 left on it, so we're close to being paid off for that. I also pay mine and my mom's phone bill, and that is $242. I have T-Mobile for me and my mom, and we both have brand new phones, so that's why. She does send me money for the phone bill, though, for her, because I can't pay that. So that's how much it costs for me to live in Southern California. And do I regret it? No, because I love living here and nothing beats it, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
People are saying the new American dream is to leave America, so come with us to CarMax to sell my car. Context: I'm trying to minimize as many monthly bills as I can between now and 8 months from now, which is August. I spend around $500 a month on the car insurance, car note, gas, etc. That equals up to $4,000 between now and when I leave. I got my money! So in case some of you guys are unfamiliar with how selling your car works, if you have a loan balance, you pretty much get an offer from wherever you're going. Kind of know where your loan balance is standing, but if, for example, CarMax gave me $13.5 thousand for my vehicle, but I only owed $6,000, so I left here with $6,861.97. Back home from selling my car, I did leave CarMax with a draft. So a draft, you have to deposit into a bank account. You can't go and get cash. You have to put it into an account with your name on it. So I've already done that. Process was pretty easy. CarMax called my bank, got my remaining loan balance, and I left there the same day with the difference. So I am $6,861.97 in to the saving. A lot more to go, but I do plan on filming my process and my journey up until I leave as to what I'm getting rid of, what I'm downsizing, and how much I'm saving. So stay tuned if you want to learn.
Once you move to America, are you soon rich? Let me explain why it's often much harder than people realize to obtain the kind of wealth they expect to obtain when they come to the United States. So imagine you just moved to my hometown, Baltimore, from Nepal, and you're working full-time, 40 hours a week at minimum wage. So income first. Maryland minimum wage is about $15 per hour, so that's roughly $2,600 per month before taxes. That's more than 370,000 Nepalese rupees. That's a lot of money. But now reality. Taxes, federal tax, Maryland state tax, Social Security taxes, Medicare. After all those taxes, the amount that would actually reach your bank account would be about $2,100 per month. So that's the money you have to live on. Housing. I'm going to assume that you don't live alone. You're sharing a house with a roommate or something like that, or an apartment with a roommate. And on average, apartment rents are about $1,600 per month in Baltimore. So your share of the rent is about $800 per month. So $2,100 minus $800 is $1,300 left. Food. Let's be realistic here. You're going to cook at home, sure, rice, dal, vegetables, meat, sometimes spices, snacks. But food in the U.S. is really expensive. A realistic food budget is going to be about $400 per month. So $1,300 minus $400 is about $900 left. Then utilities, shared utilities, electricity, heating, water, trash. Your share about $180 per month, so 900 minus 180 equals about $720 left. What about the phone, the internet? A basic phone plan, $60 per month, probably a bit more, but let's say 60. $720 minus 60 is $660 left. Transportation. You've got a very cheap used car. Everyone drives a car. So you buy an old used car, you pay in cash. We won't even count that cost, but every month you still are paying insurance, about $120, gas $120, repairs and maintenance another $100 or so, parking. Total cost of the car, $360 per month. 660 minus 340 is $220. Other basic costs, clothes, toiletries, haircuts, household items, very minimal budget, $150 a month. $320 minus $150, about $170 left. Then healthcare, emergencies, even with insurance, doctor visits and medicines costly. You should set aside at least $150 a month for medications, occasional doctor's visits, and so forth. So out of $170 minus $150, $20 left. So after working full-time, shared housing, cooking at home, driving an old car, no luxuries, you've got left over about $20 to send home to Nepal. So how much can you really send home? Just that $20? $50? $100? If you're really, really frugal, what happens if your family expects or needs more? And one problem can change everything. Your car breaks down. You've got a dental emergency. There's a family emergency in Nepal. One such big event like that can erase years of savings. The truth is that many immigrants don't say out loud is that living in America doesn't mean you're rich. It often just means you're surviving quietly, under pressure. So the message to families back home and those planning to migrate, yes, opportunity does exist, but life here in the US is expensive. Remittances are a kind of sacrifice. It's not an automatic source of wealth. So I'm trying not to be complaining here. It's explaining. And
my life being poor in a blue state was better than my well-off life in a red state. The thing about a blue state when you're poor is there's actually things to help you be able to afford life. The thing about a red state is there's often a lack of social programs, especially if you are considered well off. The bar for this is pretty low, especially looking at how money is quantified in the South because the costs of things are lower. Just because you're well off doesn't mean you're actually getting to the money when you actually start looking at money nationwide and how it's quantified. But you're given the responsibilities as though you are a wealthy man. Essentially, you have to take on a lot of debt or expenses to be able to function in the society. These are car-centric societies, so you can already say you need a car. They often don't have a state-run insurance for health based on your income. So you have to get private health insurance, which also costs, especially if you have a family. You then have to get car insurance. Oftentimes in the house, there's suburban sprawl. So the most expensive form of housing, buying a house, is what is typically marketed to you. Although you may have enough success to purchase these things for yourself, you don't even really get to appreciate the success of being well off in the South because so many things are eating up your hard-earned dollar. Not to mention the property taxes that come from now having to own a house, the maintenance that comes with having a car, the premiums that are always changing with your private insurance. But in the North, there's more avenues and ways to live. The average northern city will have adequate transportation that reaches into local suburbs often. Many of the blue states up north also have state-run healthcare that will work with you based on your income. You have price lock-ins or price protections, so your premiums don't just go up whenever everybody decides they want to make a little more money off your back. You don't necessarily have to have a car. There's more mixed varieties of living styles, even mixed-use development. You can have a grocery store in the bottom level of where you live. So now you're cutting down on life expenses, travel expenses, and even housing expenses because you may be able to rent or sublet or have an apartment rather than having to go and buy a house or something equivalent, essentially. This is why sometimes the money you make and your salary you bring in isn't everything. It depends on where you are. Just because the taxes may be less and things may be cheaper, and I may be appearing to keep more of my money in the South, more of my money was given up right back to the things that could have been covered by a difference in political standing of the state. In the North, I didn't mind my taxes being taken for things that I knew would come back to me and ultimately allow my cost of living to be lower. I didn't mind making less in an environment where more costs were freely provided to me. But not only that, even up north, salary, wages, pay per hour was nearly double on average. It was hard for me to justify having less public infrastructure, less choices of lifestyle, less pay, less rights, and more personal expenses based on my location, especially as an upcoming adult. Being in that red is dead.
Turns out we don't have to wait for a foreign actor to destroy America. Because if what Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social yesterday, January 14th, actually happens, we will collapse from within. He posted that starting February 1st, he was cutting off all federal aid to all blue states. First of all, that's unconstitutional because Congress appropriated those funds to go to the states. So this is an absolute, unequivocal seizure of power that is illegal and unconstitutional. And there is no doubt we would be in a constitutional coup. Second of all, let's start with the obvious about who this affects. Everyone, not just blue states, red states alike. We are so interconnected that red states, do you not think if everything grinds to a halt in blue states that you will be impacted? I mean, let's start with the obvious. Food assistance, housing assistance, medical care. Nursing homes get a lot of federal funding. School lunch programs where our kids go and eat when they're at school. Infrastructure. I cannot say strongly enough how catastrophic this would be if it is allowed to happen. Congress, if you do not step up now, you will never have another chance because you will be moot. Do you really think we can wait until the midterms to vote? No, because people will actually cease to live if these programs go away. It will absolutely result in the end of life for a lot of people and in the total chaos and collapse for the rest, and not just in blue states. You've got to be as loud as you can, Republicans and Democrats and independents alike, because if this happens, we no longer have a United States of America, because our constitutional republic will have collapsed. It's that serious. This is that serious. Go love your neighbor.
$290 a week. Who the is living on $290 a week? That's bananas. So yes, you definitely need to bring up that minimum wage to at least a reasonable. The minimum wage has not kept up. Had our Congress raised the federal minimum wage at the same rate that GDP has grown since the 1960s, the minimum wage would be $22 an hour federally. The federal minimum wage would be $22 an hour. Instead, it's $7.25 an hour. $7.25 an hour. That's $290 a week. That's ludicrous. $290 a week? Find me rent for $290 a week. What is that, $1,200 a month? Find any one-bedroom apartment for $1,200 a month, including utilities. You can't do it in virtually any city in America. Then how the hell could that be our minimum wage? That the minimum wage is less than the cost of a one-bedroom apartment without any...
Everyone is looking at America right now asking, why aren't Americans doing anything about their government? And of course, the excuses have started to pour in, but I can actually explain in just 3 words: bread and circuses. In ancient Rome, the writer Juvenal wrote 16 satires. He described how although the average Roman citizen struggled to survive, and socially their society was collapsing around them in many ways, if they were provided with bread or food and circuses or entertainment, they likely wouldn't do anything about the material conditions they were forced to live in. Sound familiar? Of course, Americans won't do anything about Donald Trump because the Super Bowl is coming up. And after the Super Bowl, another sporting event, another reality TV show. This is the country with the most fast food restaurants in the world, the country that consumes more resources per person than any other country in the world, even though it only makes up 5% of the world's total population. These are the people who line up for hours, trampling over one another to buy overpriced water bottles, plastic-shaped beer cups that will eventually end up in a landfill when the next trend comes along. You expect the consumption capital of the world to give a shit about their government? Have you seen the state of politics in the US? Poor people are voting against universal health care. They think politics is entertainment. That when Donald Trump threatens Greenland and blatantly breaks international law and proceeds to make memes about it, while his little cronies lap it up, and everyone else is looking for a reason not to pay attention to it. This is not the United States of the 1950s, where people were able to boycott and go without. They will give you 1,000,001 reasons why they cannot actually withhold their money from corporations, or why they just can't go without buying something. If anything will happen in the United States, it will be because of an extreme minority. But the majority of this country is willfully asleep.
All Americans together have about $180 trillion. The top 10% has nearly $120 trillion of it. And no shade to these folks. They're hardworking Americans that worked in the system and built wealth. This is a critique on the system. Because when you look at the bottom 50%, if the top 10 have $120 trillion, how much do you think the bottom 50% has? Did you guess $4 trillion? $4 trillion. 170 million people are splitting $4 trillion. The top 34 million people in the top 10 are splitting 120 trillion. And the critique here is that the trickle-down economics that were talked about in the 80s did not work, clearly, because in the late 80s, we had, as Americans, about $50 trillion adjusted for inflation of net worth. We now have 180. That's a $130 trillion increase. Of the 130, 2 trillion made it to the bottom 50%. The other 128 stayed in the top 50, and most of it in the top 10. We don't want to confiscate the top 10's wealth, but this should be a lesson over the past 50 years that the economic policies did not work for the middle class. We need to change it so that organically through wages, stock options, more financial education, that 20% could naturally trickle down to the bottom 50%, because that would change our entire world. If the top 10 had 20% less organically over 50 years, so someone worth 10 mil is worth 8 mil, someone worth 100 mil is worth 80 mil, nothing would change in their life. But putting $20 trillion in the bottom 50% naturally over 50 years, we wouldn't even be having a crisis right now. So we need to focus on this wealth inequality because it's only going to get bigger.
And if I have to give you 5 years of my social media history just to step foot in your country, I'm just not going to go to your country. Because spoiler alert, absolutely nobody is dying to go to the United States right now. And they go, I live in Europe. As if it wasn't the Americans who created the term Euro summer to come here. Why would we be stressed about not going to your country, bro? Americans and Trump are going to have to realize very quickly the world is so much bigger and grander to some extent than the United States. I can get to France, Belgium, the Netherlands, all via one train. Spain is literally like less than 2 hours away. I've already gone twice this year. I've already got 2 Europe trips booked for 2026. Why would I be itching and scratching my female balls to go to the United States to be treated like a foreigner? Like I can't get that in my own country. Like, because until I can get an answer for why I would happily go to a place that will give me more headache for visiting there, I'm going to happily stay here in Europe. Come on, get down!
If you're planning your escape from the US sometime in the future, then you need to make sure you're keeping an eye on flights in and out of the country, because the number of flights coming in are dropping drastically. Therefore, those return flights are falling and the prices are going up. In the past 6 months, 10 major international airlines have cut US routes entirely. Iceland's Play Airlines is walking away from all US cities. Lufthansa, Air France, Singapore Airlines are all redirecting their focus on other countries. They're shifting routes that used to go to the US to other European and Asian countries. International arrivals to the US dropped nearly 12% in March. It's the biggest fall since the pandemic. Bookings from Canada to the US for this summer collapsed by over 70%. And that's just what's being reported. Airlines go where the money is, and that isn't the US. And with the Republican Party making visitors and foreigners feel unwelcome, they're choosing not to visit the US. Why would you want to visit a country that you might get arrested just for arriving? Why would you want to go to a country that is turning into 1940s Germany? Visitors don't want to contribute to the rise of fascism. If you're planning to leave, you'll be paying more since the demand will be higher. Direct flights to the city or country of your choice may be dropped, which means that you'll have to have 1 or 2 connecting flights. More connecting flights, the more likely your luggage could go missing. There are so many things that could go wrong. Try to book your flight now, even if your exit plan isn't for 6 months. If the airline sees bookings, maybe they'll keep that flight. Good luck.
So let me do the math here. If you make $25 an hour and you're working a full-time job, 40 hours a week, that means you're making $1,000 a week times 4 weeks out of the month brings you to $4,000 a month. You take that $4,000 and you times it by 12 months a year. That makes it $48,000 a year. Take a third of that off for federal and state income taxes. A third off. So let's say 48. Let's take off, I don't know, we'll bring it down to 35. Okay, $35,000 a year. That you break that down into 12 months, that's about $3,000, let's say, a month that you're clearing. Your rent is $2,000, your car payment or your lease payment is $500, your insurance is another couple hundred, your mobile phone, your renter's insurance, every single expense. God forbid you get sick and have to pay a deductible. How in the fuck is somebody supposed to live on $25 an hour? And if you were making $30 an hour, that would be $1,200 a month times, 12 months out of the year. You do the math, it's still...
The older generation destroyed the American dream. Like, I need everyone to know that if you're 50 years or older, it's very likely that you destroyed the American dream. And it's because of greed, and it's because of overcapitalization of situations. Because, why is it impossible to buy houses? Why? It's because they bought all the houses and they sell it for higher margins, all right? They think because they bought something for maybe $50,000, they should sell it for $1 million. Why is it that rent is so freaking high now that the average freaking American who turns 18 cannot start their life? Cannot start it. You literally cannot start your life. I'm lucky as hell. I'm freaking 21 and I have my own apartment. I don't even know how the hell this happened. It's not likely for us to do that. So yes, it's your guys' fault. And the thing is, like, I don't even want you guys to be like, oh, y'all don't work hard enough. We work more than y'all ever thought you could work, dude. I don't care what you say. Do you know how much we work? We work so much to the point where we don't even want to work, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you work, because you will not beat the system that has been placed for us. Do you know why? Because you guys fucked it. You fucked up the future. You were over greedy, way too greedy, and you fucked up the future. We all know it. Gen Z knows y'all fucked up the future.
How high has your energy bill been? I ask because in 2025, US households paid an average of 9.6% more on their utility bills compared to in 2024. And this is a piece that needs to be included in the discussion around the cost of living crisis. Because guess what? There's a solution. Everybody knows the solution. And guess what? It's better for your pocket. It's better for the environment. Therefore, it's better for all of our health. And it's renewable energy. And not only is it the most affordable source of energy, but it's also the fastest to scale and deploy. So what's the issue? Well, the current administration and Congress is in bed with the fossil fuel industry.
In the short run, we have a shortage, and Donald Trump is making it worse. Now, why would you make it worse? Well, when there are shortages of something, the people selling the thing get to charge more, and they are charging more.
Which is horrible for our pockets, great for theirs. Bad for all of our health. And recent policy, like the Republican-backed One Big Beautiful Bill, got rid of clean energy incentives while including billions of dollars in giveaways for big oil. Renewables have to be the future for our health and for our pockets.
So I'm starting to see videos of Americans getting upset and defensive because people outside the USA are criticizing us and wondering why we don't rise up against our fascist-ass government. And I just want to say to all the Americans that are getting defensive and complaining, shut the fuck up. We are pathetic. We are cowardly. We are complacent. And we are just pathetic. We are genuinely one of the worst groups of people to ever fucking exist. And history's going to look back at us and ask the same goddamn question. Why were so many of us so willing to sit by, keep our heads down, and watch this shit happen right the fuck in front of us? We are only 4% of the global population. There are 8 billion people out there, and we impact almost every single one of them to some degree. Okay? We are the motherfucking bad guys. We impact the entire globe. Our foreign policy literally kills tens of millions of people if you look at the last decades, century. But like, this is a historical truth. This is a truth in the moment. This is objective fucking reality. And there is no excuse good enough that you could offer up to people outside this country who we are fucking every single day that would rationalize why we're not rising up against this shit. We are the bad guys, and we deserve all of the motherfucking criticism and so much more that is coming our way right now. I'm sorry that you're just now waking up to the reality of what the fuck we are, what the fuck you live in, and how much we impact people. But when they say that our problems inside this country are small compared to how we impact the globe, they are right. Our internal policies impact 4% of the world. But guess what? We impact 8 billion people. The other 96% of people that don't fucking live here, they are still impacted by what we fucking do. But you're so individualistic, you're so selfish, you're so me, that you think your petty little fucking concerns are bigger than rising up against the worst motherfucking government possibly to ever exist when you consider the technology that we have at our disposal. When you consider how embedded we are within the financial system across the world. When you consider the reach of our fucking military and its global presence. We are arguably the worst group of people to ever to fucking exist when you consider our impact. So we deserve all the fucking criticism. And if you don't like that shit, I can only assume it's because you're not doing enough.
You know, we've been grateful for living in the United States for 2 years, but when we became absolute fan of United States is the moment when we left and lived a while outside. And I know, guys, you can tell me about any other news, political climate, all this chaos, but I'm pretty sure in Citrus County, Florida, where we lived 2 years, it's safe and calm and wonderful as it is before we come and it is now. About America, we found that the level of, happy living in there is just such a high. If you are hardworking, like, I don't know, maybe we are lucky. Fix me in a comment, maybe I'm wrong, but I remember just pushing hard. I built my business. If I've been in a low time, I can grab my keys and DoorDash and having about $1,000 a week, just driving my car and grab some stuff from McDonald's and bring it to the people. healthcare, insurance, everything been okay for us. Maybe again, I'm wrong, because I'm new in United States. I've been new. Maybe I'm a mistake. But as a feeling for me, how my kids feel, how overall, level of people who are there, how kind they are, how, grateful and smiling everybody around, how my kid were so easy to find friends in the playground, and so on and so on. Guys, you just, you don't know what it is to have free access just to live in United States. You can tell me in the comment how wrong am I, but that's just a feeling, and that's just my opinion, and I still think we will come back one day.
I don't have much to say that won't put me on some list. And I don't have many words for Americans because we're fucking cowards. What I will say is that if you are someone who lives outside of the United States of America and you have any American company in your country, Walmart, Nike, Starbucks, McDonald's, KFC, whatever the fuck it is, do not go there. Do not spend your money there, which is probably better for you anyway, because if there's an American company somewhere in your country, it probably means that your politicians were bought as well. If it is American, cancel it. If you had any trips booked to the United States for whatever the reason, cancel it. Get your money back. Bring the economy of this country to its knees, because its own people won't do it. Its own people can't give up fucking coffee or shopping haul or some random release of a keychain simply to save their own lives. So I implore you, if you live outside of the United States of America, if you're not even American, do not patronize anything that is American in your country. Nothing.
So now, if you live in America and you live in a blue state, say goodbye to your federal funding, as Trump has just announced that he will be cutting all federal funding to blue states by February 1st, in just a few days. If you honestly thought that it was bad before, you are not going to want to hear this. You see, the US Department of Health and Human Services have just frozen about $10 billion in federal funding. This money is supposed to go towards childcare, temporary assistance for needy families, and of course, social services block grant programs in 5 separate Democrat-led states. These of which include California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and even New York. This means that the president will be deliberately withholding life-saving resources to millions of people throughout the country, not because of need or legality, but as a literal punishment for how they voted, turning public money that's meant to protect lives into a political weapon. Now, Trump claims that he is doing this because of alleged fraud, but many Democratic leaders, alongside many critiques, are remarking it as politically motivated, as this is conveniently only really targeting blue states.
That's a great question. The answer is we don't. We can't afford to live here. $250,000 is what you need to live here as a family in Rhode Island. $250,000. I put on my Sherlock Holmes hat, did some research, and here you go. Here's your median household income. You see $250,000 anywhere, even in the most affluent areas. It's not happening. I know what you're thinking. You know what? I'm just going to build a house. No, you're not. $360,000? No, you're not. It ain't going to happen. By the way, there ain't no land for you to buy up. Rhode Island is basically the Titanic at this point. All right, folks? We just got to face the facts. We hit an iceberg with this economy. We all jumped in the water, and we're on the door, and we're hanging on for dear life. There might be room. We might be able to turn this economy around, but probably not, because the frostbite and the hypothermia has already set in. We might as well let go and just sink to the abyss, because, I mean, what else are you going to do? You can't open a small business here. It ain't going to thrive. These numbers aren't numbering, so is that it for Rhode Island? Bye-bye, I guess. I don't know.
I am seriously starting to feel like it's just about impossible to live in the United States. And, you know, I don't want to seem like a lazy bum when I seen this, but I truly feel like it's just about impossible. If you weren't raised and given a good first hand in life, or a support team who will make sure no matter what that you don't fail, or, you know, having people that you're able to fall back on, you're blessed. And if you are one of those people, I highly suggest you thank those people near you, because a lot of us aren't blessed like that. I'm a 23-year-old dad. I've got 2 kids. I've got about to be a 5-year-old in May, and I've got a newborn too. She's just a few weeks old, like 3 weeks. So my wife gets to stay at home and take care of the babies, and I'm out here trying to get it. I'm on my 3rd shift job now. I'm a security officer for Allied Universal. No, I don't represent the company in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This is just a job. I am not a part of this company. But, you know, and I work here from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. every single day, 8-hour shift. I get off of this third shift job and I go directly into another job, which I just go around my city finding side jobs. It might be a clean out one day and I go out there for another 5, 6, 7 hours. It might be landscaping another day. It might be painting one day. It could be, you know, it varies. I do what I can where I can. But therein, I go home and I have to stay up even longer to make sure that my lady is able to get her rest too, because, I mean, being a mom's a hard job. Yes, I'm working hard, but being a mom is a hard mental job as well in its own. So I have to stay up for a little bit in order to give her time to actually rest and get her sleep too, because she needs it. But I say that to say all this, you know, having people to fall back on. Let's say you're going down the road and, like my case, my heater core blows up. I don't have no one I can call to say, hey, can I borrow $400 so I can get my heater core replaced? Or, you know, you got $300-400 so I can get new tires on my vehicle. That is just something you have to figure out on your own. And if somebody with terrible credit, you can't just go get a loan for these things. The only loan you could get is a title loan. And in a lot of states, title loans are illegal for a reason. I'm stuck in this title loan, having to pay them back $4,300, but I have to pay $700 a month just to drive. That doesn't go toward my principal, on top of having to pay my rent and all the other bills just to survive. It's impossible. You know, I would never hurt or harm myself in any way, but sometimes I just wonder why. Why am I here? I mean, there's got to be a reason why, like, life is so hard for me. What if it's not meant for me? This shit drives a lot of people to anger, man, and I understand. I truly do. You know, people say maybe these next 4 years. No, this is literally impossible. There is nothing no president is able to do to save people from what we are having to go through. Housing at an all-time high. You know, you could go to another country and you can have the same homes here for 1/10 of the price that we're paying per month. Food the same exact way. And I just feel like it's impossible. If I was a drug addict, if I was a piece of shit dad, I could have so much more help. But with me out here trying to do everything the right way, you know, and nothing's working, nothing's helping. Life absolutely sucks right now. It truly, truly sucks. And there's no way to get out of it than to continue to dig myself into working and trying to come up out of this hole that seems impossible to come out of. You know, sorry for the rant. I'm not usually the ranting type. I'm just tired. I'm sick and fucking tired of having to live the way that we have to live just to survive, because it's nonsense. It truly is. I mean, I try my absolute hardest and I'm not getting anywhere. A lot of you are able to fall back on TikTok. I can't fall back on TikTok. Every time I try to get a video to blow up, it never does, and I'm not going against any standards. There's people doing way worse shit than me, and they're getting way more views and everything, but yet whenever I want views, I have to pay for them. Not me. I don't have that extra funding. You know, and then you pay for it, and then there's no guarantee that you have those same people coming right back. You pay for the views, and then afterwards you're back in a 200 view jail. And that's it. TikTok's fucking stupid when it comes to income too. I don't know. I wish I can catch that big break. I wish I could get back to a life of, you know, damn, we paid our rent, power, water, Wi-Fi, and insurance. That's our bills for the month, you know, and we can afford that. Talking about saving money and being able to invest in land and a whole bunch of other stuff. It seems impossible. So, you know, if you have that support team and you have a whole group of people that are there for you to make sure that you don't fall, be thankful for them, because there's a lot of us up here that one slip, one fuck up, one missed day out of work will cause us to lose our home, our vehicle, and to end up being on the streets. DSS is no help. CPS is no help. They won't help you until you're actually living on the streets. And once you are, they take your kids because you're an unfit parent. There's no help. You can't call these resource centers and everything like that. You can't depend on food banks for food, because a lot of these food banks give you rotten meats and shit. It's just hard. It's just hard. Y'all let me know if y'all go through the same things on a daily basis, or am I just an irresponsible piece of shit? Because I don't feel like I am.